Well, what's up again there, guys? Brian here at 3TR, here to bring you another solid movie review. This time I'm giving you my thoughts on the new raunchy, hard R comedy animated movie titled Sausage Party, even though technically they're hot dogs in a sense, or at least the main group of characters is mostly hot dogs. Now this comes from the director that gave us such animated classics such as Madagascar 3, Shrek 2, and Monsters vs. Aliens, and actually has the kind of off-screen animated voice acting talents of Seth Rogen, Kristen Wiig, Jonah Hill, Michael Cera, James Franco, Danny McBride, Craig Robinson, Edward Norton, and a bunch more well-known and established actors. Now, the premise of Sausage Party is it takes place in a grocery store, and you have all these foods that are waiting to be picked up by us humans to be taken to the great beyond. And they think that, after we go to the store and we pick them up and take them home, that they live just a happy life in the great beyond and all their dreams will come true. But as humans know what happens to food when we take them home, it doesn't really turn out too well. And when they end up finding the truth, one particular hot dog decides to want to expose the truth and want to start a somewhat conflict with the humans, and that's really all I want to say without spoiling too much. Now, I'm going to say this. Going into this movie, I really had not really high expectations, but I was expecting a very good time. And I can say for a majority of this movie, I did have a very, very good time actually enjoying watching a number of elements this film had to provide. I thought the voice acting across the board was fine. I thought the animation style was very well handled. It never really got juddery or seemed inconsistent. The problem that I have with this film was that it should have been a lot simpler than it actually ended up being. And what I mean by that is that the movie had a tendency to go into a lot of real serious, real-world topics. And I just felt somewhat uncomfortable that they were using food to try to tell this story. I mean, this movie has homosexuality, it's got Nazis, it's got religion, it's got all these real-world serious issues. And I don't understand the point of wanting to tell them with the use of food. I think that these topics would have been better used in a much more serious, real-world movie. Now, it's not to say that this movie doesn't have funny points, because there are a number of funny points. When the movie focuses on the very concept of these foods needing to get away from the humans or wanting to rebel against the humans, I thought that was when it was at its strongest. And I thought some of my favorite scenes, without question, were scenes where we were seeing things happen from their perspective, and then we see them from ours. Like, you would see like a weenie be try to run away or do some things, and then when you go back to the human's perspective, it's just it just looks like a normal food just kind of rolling away, like you would drop it and it would just kind of perform an action. I think that when it handles those elements, that was when the movie was at its strongest. And it has a number of subplots which don't really go anywhere, and I think for the most part kind of take away from the main premise of the movie. And I gotta say this because this was just utter shocking. But there's a scene at the end of this film which has got to be probably one of the most horrifying and shocking things I've ever seen on the big screen ever. And it was so shocking that I can't even remember the last time I did this to a film, but I actually had to kind of shield my eyes because I didn't want to see it. I was just like, I was peeking, I was like, tell me they're not, oh God, tell me they're not, oh wow. Wow, I never felt more disgusted and dirty at watching a scene on a big screen in my life. This would absolutely go down as being in my top 5 most hard to watch scenes I've ever seen in a film. And I hope I didn't just pique any of you guys' interest so you can see what I'm talking about. But for those of you who have seen it, please do not mention it in the comments. Now, look. I think that if you want to go see Sausage Party, I think you should absolutely prepare yourself, and please follow the warning signs. Do not take your kids to go see this because this is definitely a hard R animated movie. But I think that for me personally, I just don't feel comfortable with the real serious topics that they decided to put into this movie. And the fact that they spent so much time and they kept jumping through all these different topics that I really just don't think is, in my opinion, appropriate to tell with food. I would be much more interested if it was told in a real-world setting. Now, I know that it's probably not going to bother most of you, and most of you will have a good time. And if you really do have any interest on seeing it, then I absolutely would recommend that you see this for yourselves. But for me, if I had to give this a rating, I'm afraid I can't do that because I just feel uncomfortable giving this movie a standard rating in the traditional sense. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to do something that I've been doing with the channel in terms of my movie reviews for the past 4 years, and I'm going to have to give it a stamp that I've only promised myself I would only give one movie this per year. And unfortunately, it is going to have to go to Sausage Party, and I'm going to have to give it a unrateable stamp. 1 year it was Movie 43, another year was The Dictator, last year it was something else, and now this year it is Sausage Party. Now, do not let my stamp distract from your interest of seeing this movie. If you want to see it, go ahead and see it, but just for me personally, it should have been a lot more simpler than it ended up being. And I really had some moments of enjoyment, but every time it went back to these serious topics, it really took me out of the movie. It made me feel very uncomfortable. So those are just my initial thoughts on Sausage Party. If you've already seen the film yourself, please share your thoughts with me in the comments down below. And if you like this movie review, feel free to like, comment down below, and please subscribe to check me on my future movie reviews. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I will see you next time.